Welcome to the Travel Bug Girls podcast, the show where we dive into the world of travel, exploring everything from expert tips and insider secrets to unforgettable destinations and the latest trends. Whether you're a seasoned globetrotter or planning your very first adventure, we've got you covered with the advice and inspiration you need to make your travels truly unforgettable. So sit back, relax, and let's take your travel planning to the next level. Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 5 of the Travel Bug Girls podcast. Exciting. So today we are going to talk about, is it really a bargain? So I'm here with Tina, Cassie, Heather, and me, Kimmy. I'll be your host today. And today we're going to dive deep into the world of travel bargains and uncovering the hidden costs that can turn your dream vacation into a nightmare. And I think we all know someone that has happened to, or that has happened to us. Let's start with why we are all attracted to bargain travel. You know, everybody's on a budget. Well, most of us are on a budget, and we like to save money where we can. And so I also think that like bargain travel, all the websites and apps and everything now, it's like a big thing that are always advertising to people as you can get the best deal here, get a discount on your hotels, your flights, your whatever, your car rental. Everybody wants to save $1, especially in this economy. We want to travel, but we want to travel on a budget. And so those things kind of draw you in. There's, you know, also like flash sales, last minute deals, budget airlines. I know we have seen a lot more of that in recent years. Sometimes all-inclusive packages, third-party sites, like I said, just so many bargain vendors, I guess, out there kind of clamoring for our attention, and everything sounds really good. But I think as we've all learned, there are hidden costs to bargain travel. So let's talk about that. I know, Cassie, this is something you brought up in one of our past episodes, is hidden fees. So let's talk about hidden fees. Where are you guys seeing hidden fees, especially where it relates to bargain travel? Anybody?
Airbnb cleaning fees. People love to say, I found this on Airbnb and it's so much cheaper than the price that you quoted me. But when you break down the cleaning fees, maybe sometimes I've seen them as high as $600 on top of that cheap room or that cheap house. And by the time you pay an additional $600, you could have stayed in a really nice hotel for that.
Yeah, for sure.
That's generally where I see a large fee like that. We travel a lot of budget airlines. There's a lot of hidden fees in budget airlines. It's kind of a love-hate relationship. We love a $49 trip to Disney, but when you're paying $30 per bag, there's a fee if the bags are too heavy, that kind of thing. That's another popular hidden fee.
Mm-hmm. That's the one that I was thinking about, because we also fly, when we fly like to Florida, Orlando, it's usually on a budget airline. I won't name names, but sometimes our bags are as much or more as our ticket. And then you also have to pay if you want to pick a seat to sit together, you know, so those things add up really quick. And next thing you know, you're paying $250 a ticket for your $49 ticket.
It's true. It's true. I was pricing flights. I've been actually pricing a lot of flights lately for clients. And this week it came up, there's a family of 4 that's traveling to Europe. And the initial, you know, when you do a broad spectrum look at pricing, the first prices that come up as the most affordable might be in the $600 range. And you get all excited. Oh my gosh, we can fly to Europe for $600. That's amazing. Because the traditional pricing in our region would be more like $1,200. So you're talking half price. That's a sale. That's huge. And so you get all excited. But then when you really dig into it, no luggage. Who can go to Europe for a week and a half and not take luggage? You know what I mean? And they have kids they're taking and they want to buy souvenirs. So they're definitely going to have to pay for luggage. Then they have children. So they want to sit together. So now we're paying extra to sit together. So by the time it's all said and done, it makes more sense to book one of the flights that maybe had a starting price closer to $900, but you get to choose your seats. It comes automatically with some luggage, and you're on a carrier that's more reliable, maybe. So sometimes, I mean, you really have to catch that kind of stuff. And taxes are a huge thing too, like broadening. We learned that when we first started traveling extensively, that certain airports have lower taxes, so their flight prices are always lower than other surrounding options. So sometimes it's worth it to drive a little ways to go to an airport like that that's going to have automatically lower pricing.
Another one is resort fees. Have any of y'all come across that being an issue? Like, you get to the resort and then there's like, you have this $150 fee you got to pay directly to the resort, and then this fee and that fee, and $25 here and $30 here, and you know, it adds up. It definitely adds up.
It can add up. One of the things that I've really liked since starting using one of our suppliers, it shows you what the client needs to pay when they get there, because so even if the price is a certain amount, it says, okay, you know, because people don't always read the fine print. Sometimes it's there that the resort fees are going to be there, but sometimes people don't read it. This way you see the total and it's like, okay, you're going to pay this before you get there, and this is what you're going to pay when you get there. So you can see the whole thing. Kind of along with that is for hotels and other things, for the convenience or for getting in on a special. When you get these really great rates, one thing that we have to be careful for is if they are non-refundable. And we'll be talking about insurance later in a different podcast. But you know, it's great if you get this super cheap rate, you know, it's like 60% off, but it's because it's a special and you can't cancel it and there's no change. There's, you know, and sometimes you get lucky and they'll release it, but most of the times it says non-refundable.
Yeah, that was airlines. You know, a lot of airlines, if you need to change your flight at the last minute, you've got to pay a change fee. Not all, but most of them you have to pay a change fee. And so there you go, another extra expense. So
cruise lines too, though. Cruise lines will, you know, nickel and dime you really.
Yes.
And it can be shocking for people that aren't used to it, that, you know, are maybe booking a cruise for the first time. And I've even met a few people that really turned them off to cruising in general. And there are cruise lines that do this notoriously, and there are others that are intentionally doing the exact opposite of that. But what that means is, when you look at cruise pricing, and the reason this all happens in the first place in all of these industries, right, is competition. So they know that people are looking for the lowest price, so they're going to publish a price that's lower, but then they're still going to get theirs on the, you know, by adding all these fees. And so it brings it up to the average price that you could have looked at what would have been a higher end luxury option from the beginning, if you realize that you were going to be charged for every teeny tiny little thing. You know, if you want to drink anything other than water, you're going to pay for it on a lot of those bargain cruise lines. If you want to drink juice in the morning or a soda in the afternoon, they're going to charge you an expensive fee for that. Or if you want to, you know, go to dinner at any other option other than what's assigned to you, then you're going to pay a high fee for that. If you want to use your phone to post pictures on your trip and connect to the Wi-Fi, then you're going to pay a big fee for that. So the fees just add up. Or you're not paying those fees and then you're miserable. You're wishing you had known what it was going to cost you, and you're looking at everyone else and feeling jealous the entire time you're on vacation. That's awful. So sometimes knowing those things up front gives you a broader perspective. So when you're really looking at pricing, now you can compare apples to apples, because it's really just a shell game in a lot of ways of like, look, we're so much cheaper. Well, you're really not.
Really. Yeah.
You're really not.
Yeah. That's a perfect segue into the next section, which is compromising on comfort and convenience. So a lot of times, if you're going bargain, you've got to know, like, you're probably going to have a longer layover, or you're going to have that super early 4:20 a.m. flight time, or your hotel room is going to be very basic, or like your cruise is, you're going to be drinking water and eating crackers the whole time. Or, you know, it's just going to be more crowded. You know, you just you need to know ahead of time that you might be paying less, but there is a payoff for that.
Exactly.
A negative payoff for that.
I was just to bounce off the resort fee thing. Something I've seen recently. I know not everybody drives, but that's kind of like one of my husband's non-negotiables when we're going somewhere. Is we have to rent a car. We have to be able to do what we want to do when we want to do it. We're very early risers. We have 2 children. Sometimes we have to go back to the room multiple times for unforeseen circumstances. So on top of the resort fee in Las Vegas recently, we had a resort fee and we had a parking fee every day. And nowhere did I read prior to leaving that there would be a parking fee on top of the resort fee until I got there. And that was like $30 a day. And, you know, that's not a whole lot off the top. But I mean, if you stay there for a week, that's a couple $100 extra. That really adds up. So we've seen the issue with the parking become kind of a hot thing over the last couple of years. Used to be we could go anywhere and we didn't have to worry. They just asked what kind of car you drove, no big deal. But the last couple of times we've traveled, there's been fees associated with parking a vehicle, whether it be ours or a rental or whatever. So that's also something to keep in mind.
Yeah.
Yes, because when you're going somewhere and you want to be able to go to the different places, that parking thing or the transportation, whatever is going to make a difference. I had clients who wanted to stay near a popular touristy place altogether. And they're like, well, what if we did a vacation rental? So I was able to look at a few vacation rentals for them. They looked fabulous if they wanted to stay there most of the time. But if they wanted to go to the things in town or closer, they were going to be either having to rent a car and there was a big group of them, so that they would need a couple cars probably, or they were going to have to be Ubering, or they have to manage the local transportation. And that may or may not be, that may be cheap, and that's great if they want to manage that. And it all goes, like you said, with the comfort, convenience, and what we're going to talk about later, time.
It's a major issue in European travel as well. The same thing, that you can look like you're saving money by staying, let's say, for example, out near the airport where there's free shuttles, and you think, oh, I've got this hotel. I'm going to get a free shuttle from the airport to my hotel. And look how much cheaper the prices are out here than the ones that are in city center. And then we'll just take the train in, or we'll rent a car to go in, or we'll, hire an Uber that afternoon to go into the city. And the reality is you're going to spend hundreds of dollars a day and lose hours literally out of your day, every single day, going back and forth. So in the end, you really didn't save money. And you took that time out of your vacation that you could have spent more enjoying the city, trying to just manage transportation every single day. It can be extremely stressful, in addition to expensive.
Yeah. Great point. And that kind of brings us to our next point. It was like the time and the money it's going to cost you for your bargain. Like, first of all, you're going to be spending hours searching for deals and vetting deals, and this, going through different sites to check this deal and that deal. And we all know that you can really go down the rabbit hole. Like we've talked about before, where you're spending as much time looking for deals as you are like on your vacation, and is it really worth it? And then, if you've booked your hotel or whatever through a third party and something goes wrong, sometimes that hotel is like, sorry, that wasn't us. You've got to go call this website or this company that you booked your hotel through, and they're going to have to deal with it. And then you're stuck with a major headache. Yeah.
If you're booking through, it's so hard not to say names, but if you're booking through a popular website that is a consolidator that is giving you bargain pricing, and there's lots of them, but if you're not booking direct with a hotel or resort group, an airline, a rental car company, if you're not booking directly with those companies, then you may look like you're getting a bargain, but when something goes wrong, those companies will not be able to help you. And they're going to reference you back to that consolidator, who will probably be one of these companies who has notoriously bad, basically non-existent customer service. And that is where, you know, you're going to be regretting your decision to save $10. Because let's be real, a lot of times we're talking about $10 or $20. We're talking about saving very small amounts and feeling very proud of ourselves for it. And when I say we, I mean me. Like, this is where I started with travel. I think this is where we would all probably say this is where we started with travel. And you learn over time that that is not worth it, because when you have that moment where everything is falling apart, it's just, you're like, man, I wish I had spent a little more. Man, I wish I'd called somebody else, you know? And this is where having an actual travel agent also comes in. We talked about that in a previous episode. Like, having a real person who cares about you is so valuable, because first of all, we're going to tell you we're not booking that way. And second of all, when things do go wrong, you have a real person to call or message and say, this is happening. I don't know what to do, you know?
Yeah.
But even with that, like with airlines, I'm telling my clients when they ask me to book their flight, you know, I will help you with this. But even if I'm booking your flights, I'm booking directly with the airline using your name and your contact information so that it looks like you booked it. And that way, when something happens, because airlines is where it's most likely to fall apart, when something happens, you can easily get the help you need from their customer service, because they're not going to talk to me, just like they're not going to talk to, you know, the third party booking consolidator. So you really want to have the direct access to help when you need it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think the true cost of bargain travel is much higher than you think. You know, you've got those unexpected financial costs that end up costing you more than you saved at the beginning. Like we were talking about with, you know, staying out of the city center, but you're having to pay for an Uber every time you want to go somewhere. And all of that, you're going to end up paying more than if you just would have shelled out the money for the hotel right there where you really wanted to be. And not only that, you're missing out on a better experience. Like, now you've added this extra stress in for yourself, because if you want to go somewhere, you've got to find an Uber, you got to wait for it, or you've got to find the transportation, or, you know, and you're wasting that time where you could be in, you know, doing something that you want to do. Instead, you're traveling. It just adds up, sometimes in ways that are not necessarily monetary, but they're experience. Plus, you're giving yourself stress and frustration. Then you're disappointed because, you know, this awesome hotel that you got for, you know, $50 a night on some amazing deal didn't meet your expectations because it didn't really look like the pictures. Shocker. You know, and then your vacation's kind of ruined because you're disappointed. You know?
And everyone's unhappy. Yeah.
So you kind of brought this up, and I think we all have a great tip to prevent that, and it is hire a travel agent.
Definitely.
That's what we're here for. Like, number one, we can find great deals and more than make up for the cost of our services.
Definitely.
And still give you a great vacation.
Yeah, I think that's the thing to definitely focus on. Like, don't hear us saying, like, don't ever save money, because that is not how any of us feel about it. We want to save you the right money and make sure that you really enjoy your vacation. So there are ways. So in the example I was using earlier, like, if you're staying in Paris, this is a real example that's happened to my family. So, and a lot of our experience is our personal experience. Like, we are telling you, we made these mistakes, or our best friend or our mother-in-law made this mistake, and we don't want that to happen to you. So, you know, in the example of staying at the bargain hotel out of town versus in town, you know, and the expense and the stress of trying to manage that on a daily basis, going back and forth, that is a real scenario that's happened to me personally. But the other thing is, like, if I did want to save money and stay in one of those bargain hotels, or even a more affordable, safe, good hotel, but save myself money, there are hotels that I now know of that are family hotels where they have like a family room, so you're not just like piling all your kids in one bed in the corner and being like, hey, we saved $50, guys. So, but in Europe, there are family hotels and they're designed for families that are traveling. And so they'll have like bunk beds and then a queen bed and then a crib in the corner or something. So there are options that actually are a better fit, often even than like going on Airbnb and trying to get an apartment that then you have to figure out how to get into, and then it's sketchy, and which is something I also have tried. So we find solutions that are saving you money but also meeting your needs in a better way so that you have a better vacation overall.
Yeah, that's great. I think another tip, and this is something that I am kind of obsessive about, is read the reviews on places.
Oh, yes. Oh my goodness. Yes.
Especially if you're going for a bargain, like read the reviews, because every hotel is going to put a picture of their most perfect room that is probably not even a real room,
now they'll all be AI generated for
the most perfect beach, the most beautiful sunny day, like everything's gonna look exactly perfect, and the reviews are really where you kind of get the real deal. And if I'll give you a personal example. So this is like 2 years ago. We went on a trip. I wanted to go see my favorite college football team, and we stayed at a beach hotel that was near about an hour away because I wanted to stay at the beach too. And we did it on a budget. So we did get a budget hotel, and I read the reviews and they were not great. So I had realistic expectations when we got there. I knew, like, I am right now paying for, really, we were just going to be sleeping there at night, but then I wanted to be on the beach and see the beach in the morning when I got up. So we got there. There were some sketchy insects in the other room that we stayed out of, but I was like, okay, I had low expectations because I had read the reviews and I knew what I was getting into, Had I expected, or had I just gone on what the hotel had posted, I would have been very disappointed because that is not what our room looked like. But because I read the reviews, I knew what we were getting into. So that's just another way that you can manage your expectations if you're gonna go.
Definitely.
Bargain.
We have a family member that's notorious she's an extremely good budget shopper. But she's notorious for booking just like, if how you can pull up like the map view and then it shows you just the price bubbles. And a lot of services will have it that way. And she'll just be like, oh, that one's 40. Click. Or like, oh, I'm a member to this one and it's only 37, click, and she's good. She's happy. She can't wait. And then they get there and it's like there's literally police cars in the front because they've just arrested somebody who was trying to shoot some guy in a drug deal gone wrong in the middle of the hotel room. You know what I mean? Like this is legit, has happened so many times. She's like, there was this guy that looked really scary with a knife walking around the other night, but we're okay. And they didn't have the breakfast they said they were going to have, but we had cold bologna left over in the car, and so we had that for breakfast. And I was just like, this was probably 100% in the reviews. Okay, like 100%. Someone has documented a warning to their relatives: do not go here. So
I would say on that, know your travelers and look at the length of stay. We go to Gatlinburg a lot for like a long weekend because it's not super far from us, about 3 or 4 hours. So we drive there frequently. We have this one hotel that we love. Me and my mom and dad and sister, we're not high-end folk by no means. We do not have to have the Hilton. However, I have taken other members of my family there, and there's this hotel that we go back to because of the location, because of the price, because it is it's very reliable. So we go back to this hotel, but there is a section of my family members that's like, that is the Bates Motel. We are never staying there again. I can't believe you guys go back there time and time again. However, I will say their experience was directly after COVID. It was a very busy weekend when they went. They were in a room. They had a lot of dust in their room. because their room hadn't been stayed in for the 2-year span that COVID was going on. So, I mean, if you take out little snapshots like that, we have been before placed in a hotel that like had workers staying there, and we were placed really far out, and everything in the room was really dusty and really kind of, there was, like you said, questionable bugs. And so we went up front and we were like, hey, and they reassigned us a closer room, and it was so much better than what we were originally in. So it, like, I'm totally fine with that, eating pizza with the cockroaches for a night or two. But if I was going and this was going to be my one vacation for this year and it's all or nothing, I'm staying there a week, you know, I don't want to stay in the Bates Motel. I want to have a fantastic experience. And if you're a family on a budget and you're counting on that breakfast, which we do, then you need to make sure that's going to happen. And like you said, like the breakfast is actually going to be there. And you know, it's not just a sometimes and maybe, and if you get there right at 6, they're going to have something, but then they're not going to have it at 7 kind of deal. So those are all important things that you need to know your client. Are they bougie? Are they a bougie client? Or they got a champagne taste on a beer budget? So we have to look, that's part of your trust in a travel agent is we make these mistakes so you don't have to.
Right. Yeah. I think like if you're going to travel on a budget, you've got to be flexible and you've got to do your research. And that is, again, coming back to where having a travel agent is really going to be helpful, because you can still do it on a budget, but like we do the research for you. So you don't have to spend all that time, you know, and we connect with people. We find out people who have been there firsthand and get that firsthand knowledge. And
and we might not find the cheapest rate. And for all the things that we've just talked about, it may not be the cheapest. It may not be a good fit for you. So I think that's one thing to remember, whether you're working with a travel agent or, you know, you find something that is an okay price, but, you know, what about if I went through one of those consolidators? Then just remember, it might not be what looks the cheapest on the surface.
Yeah. Well, it's about time for us to wrap up. I think like we've kind of gone over some good points. Like, is it going to be a bargain? Are there going to be fees? Are you going to spend hours and hours of time traveling back and forth and paying that extra money? Are you giving up comfort? Are you giving up convenience? Are you going to be stressed out your whole vacation because you went for a bargain and it didn't go, you know, the way you wanted? So I think, can you travel on a bargain? Yes. Do you have to be careful and be smart when you're doing it? Absolutely. So, thank y'all, everybody, for joining us today. We always close with, where are you traveling in your mind this week? So, give me what you got. Tina, where are you traveling this week in your mind?
Traveling in my mind, I am traveling to New Orleans just because I keep seeing that they recently got snow, and I just think what a cool place to be where people, you know, are enjoying that.
Cassie?
Probably Wyoming. We're looking at a Yellowstone trip this year, so
cool. Heather?
Hobbiton Village in New Zealand.
Oh, I've looked at that place.
I just did training on it. Cool. It looks so amazing.
Oh my goodness. We might have to make like a trip for all of us to go there.
Trip. Let's go.
Yeah. My mind's on Brazil, so I'm working on a senior trip for my niece, and so that's where I've been looking at, and it looks amazing. So you guys can share your answer with us on Facebook under this week's podcast question at facebook.com/travelbuggirls. You can find us on your favorite social media by using @travelbuggirls, and you can join our VIP group. You'll find us on Facebook groups under TBG Travelbugs or at facebook.com/groups/TBG Travelbugs. Thanks for joining us for today's episode of the Travel Bug Girls podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and leave a review. It really helps the show grow and allows us to bring you more amazing content. We'd love to connect with you on social media. Find us online at travelbuggirls.com. Until next time, keep exploring, keep dreaming, and safe travels.